Hi, welcome back to Behind the Why. Before we do anything, don't forget, like, subscribe, and share the video. Share the conversation. If you disagree, make a comment. We'd love to have that dialogue to go back and forth. So, like, subscribe, and share. Okay, let's get into this. So lately, I've been hearing all over from pastors, just online, people calling Trump a fascist, right? That he's this white supremacist, Christian supremacist, just wild, right? Taking away our freedoms and our liberties. He's going to put you back in chains. I look at this, and it's just not supported by facts and reality, right? And last time I spoke to you, I talked about the fact that we need to really stay in truth, in reality, right? Going back to facts. Because if you're looking at different stories on the news, mainstream media, you're going to be stressed out. Okay, you're going to be stressed out because there are so many different narratives going on. But there are facts that I want to share with you, just what Trump has been doing for religious liberty in our nation, and not only in our nation, but in the world. So I'm going to share just a few things with you, facts with you. That should be considered. So, one thing President Trump has been doing, especially as we've been talking about a lot about education lately, is safeguarding the right to religious freedom for students and even faith-based organizations. So, contrary to popular belief, I know a lot of times people talk about Obama being the best president, but there are a lot of things that he did that actually infringed upon religious freedom. One thing that Obama did was actually set an assault of sorts against the Little Sisters of the Poor, the nuns. So because they're religious freedom, right, they're Catholic, they were against abortion, and under the Obama administration, they were basically being forced to provide contraception and even abortion care for their employees. And they're like, no, we're not going to do this. Long story short, under Obama's administration, they're fined like millions of dollars. And just in 2019, they had to go to court, the Supreme Court, just to fight for their religious freedom, right? I don't believe in killing a child, therefore I don't want to give my money to it. And they had to fight against this. The cool thing that Trump did, based on this just promoting religious freedom for faith-based organizations, is he undid a lot of those regulations that the government had put on faith-based organizations, undid it, which is great, right? Allowing students to be able to pray in school, right? Just be able to express your faith. Now, contrary to this story of Trump being this Christian supremacist, no, it's not Christian supremacist truly. Yes, he has a lot of Christian values that he's adhering to and promoting, but really it's just religious freedom, right? Under Trump's administration, if you're a Jew, be a Jew. If you're a Muslim, be a Muslim. You can live it out as long as you do not infringe upon somebody else's rights. Right? Under Obama's administration, faith-based organizations had so many different, unique regulations that other organizations didn't have to abide by, right? Trump lifted that as well, making it easier for them just to operate as an organization. That's a good thing. Another thing that Trump has done in his first term is an executive order starting the White House Faith and Opportunity Initiative. And this is great, right? This is basically recognizing the fact that on the local level, there are things that faith-based organizations can be a part of, and even maybe churches can be a part of, that the government shouldn't have a role in or shouldn't regulate, shouldn't control. And so what he's doing, this initiative basically was getting experts from the community, different faith-based organizations, to come and speak to government officials on the things that need to be done in their communities. And I have to read this quote to you because I was like, this is so good, okay? It says, the efforts of faith-based and community organizations are essential to revitalizing communities. And the federal government welcomes opportunities to partner with such organizations through innovative, measurable, and outcome-driven initiatives, really showing the importance of these local communities working together for their local issues. And some of those things, one thing Trump said is they want to bring in experts and leaders who are on the local level who can speak to fixing things in their communities. And some of those things were poverty alleviation, religious liberty, strengthening marriage and family, education, solutions for substance abuse and addiction, crime prevention and reduction, prisoner reentry, and health and humanitarian services. Okay, that's a good thing, right? It's getting the government really out of the local community and the importance of that the local community has in promoting these things, and promoting healthy marriage, promoting healthy family, education, having the freedom to express your religion, right? These are things that under Trump's administration are being accomplished, which is a win. One more thing that Trump's doing in regards to this religious liberty, right, is promoting international religious liberty. So an executive order signed June 2nd, President Trump basically said, hey, international religious liberty is going to be a foreign policy priority for the United States. And one thing he said, I want to share this quote. He said, religious freedom, not as a creation of the state, but as a gift of God to every person, right? Recognizing that we're not going to have a state-imposed religion, right? Now, we know the United States definitely founded on Judeo-Christian values, but it's not a state-mandated religion that we have to abide by, right? But he wants to promote this idea of religious liberty in the world, right? Seeking out where are places where people of a religious minority are being persecuted and imprisoned. He wants to seek those places out, help those people, and give them a voice and find freedom. That is a good thing that, unfortunately, the previous administration really didn't care about. And a lot of these different places where religious minorities are being oppressed, you know what they're doing? They're oppressing women's rights around the world. And what Trump's administration has done is trying to end that, to help give women a voice, okay? Contrary to popular belief, contrary to those narratives we hear constantly on the news, right? He's helping free these people to the best of his ability, right, with the team that he has. These are things that, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm like, this is a good thing, right? I'm a Christian. I believe that Jesus is the only way. However, I do understand the fact that by God, we're given a choice in this world. And if someone's a Muslim, I don't hate them. I hope that they come to know Jesus as Lord and Savior. However, they do have the freedom to live out their Muslim faith. And as a Christian, you know what? They can. I'm not going to try to kill them. I'm not going to try to impose my faith on them. Okay? Now, I want to tie this back to the beginning when I said that so many people are calling Trump a fascist, right? I want to read to you the definition of fascism. We use a lot of words that we don't know the meaning to. And growing up, my parents always told me when I'd say things that I probably shouldn't have said, they'd be like, do you even know what that means? And I'd be like, no, I don't. He's like, then why are you using the word, okay? So we need to know what we're talking about. So here's the definition. This is from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Fascism is a political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. Okay, now I read this and I had to laugh because the people we see marching in the streets, okay? Just the other day, this was a few days, this is September 5th, I believe it was, and there were these people protesting in Chicago. Okay, they're part of an organization called refusefascism.org. And they're protesting in Chicago, and they want to just make protests all over the country against what they call the Trump-Pence regime of fascism. But yet these same people are trying to fight fascism with fascism, okay? Because what they're doing, it is a religion. It's a worldview. That's all religion is. It informs your worldview. And what they want to do is impose a worldview that is just anti-God, right? Against all the things we just talked about. That's against religious liberty. Because I was a quote, actually, from the, forget her name. I'll put her name on the screen, though. But she was promoting, she basically said she's a spokesperson for this Refuse Fascism organization. And she said that since the impeachment, Trump's administration has shown to be white supremacist, Christian supremacist, and male supremacist. Okay? I'm like, how? I just read you just a few of the things that he's done that has promoted religious liberty, not Christian supremacy. Under Obama's administration, like I said, he attacked the Little Sisters of the Poor, right? Imposing his worldview, right, the left's worldview on these women, impinging upon their religious liberty. And that's what's happening today, right? Getting away from Democrat, Republican, right? Again, going back to this worldview. Under a Christian worldview, I've even heard recently, even a ton of atheist people who had said Christianity has done great things for the world, right, in promoting freedom. And one thing that Trump's administration has talked about is the importance of recognizing, yeah, this religious liberty, it's something that's not given by the state. It's something that it's a gift from God that we have. And so therefore, we're not going to impose a religion on people. You have a choice to make in that, right? But going back to this idea of worldview, what's being done right now, the different protests you hear, it's pushing for really this idea of fascism, where no, there's going to be this certain idea you have to believe, and if you don't believe it, guess what? We're going to shut down opposition. We're going to shut it down. We're going to cut it down. That's the definition of fascism. So what we need to do, like I said before, is be a discerning people. Open your eyes. Don't go by what people just say. Look at what they're doing. It's fascism. That's what it is. And one thing I do want to bring up, right? So we have really two different camps of people who are against Trump, anti-Trump, okay? You have the people who are declared secularists, okay? Maybe atheists against God, right? But they say whatever, okay? Humanist, I don't know. But they're saying Trump is a Christian supremacist. Then you have this other camp of people who claim to be preaching the gospel, and they say Jesus was radical. Jesus is a socialist. He tried to uplift the oppressed. And again, you can't have it both ways, okay? These people, these two different groups I just described, they're serving the same master. I know this might hurt someone's feelings, right? Because if you're not preaching the gospel as it is written, you're not preaching the gospel at all, even if you say you are. It's not truth. Because Jesus, contrary to what seems to be popular belief, was not a socialist. Yes, he was radical, but not in the way that's often described, right? Not in a political sense. He was radical because he was calling people to do things that's not natural to us. Love your neighbor. What? I don't want to, okay? Love those who persecute you. I don't want to, okay? And yes, Jesus did come for the oppressed. He did, definitely. But again, it goes back to that word doesn't mean what you think it means, okay? He didn't come necessarily to free you from societal oppression or physical oppression. He came to free you from oppression of your soul, right? You were dead in your trespasses, and he came to make a way for you to be free. Thank you, God. That's great. That's everyone's oppressed in that sense, right? You're all oppressed before you come to know Christ. That's what Jesus came for. And so when people say they're preaching the gospel, saying Jesus came for the oppressed, he came to lift them from their chains. Yes, your chain of sin, not necessarily the chains that you find in this life, okay? It's great. If we have a chance to help people who really are enslaved to be free, that's good. That's godly to help people. But when people say they're preaching the gospel and they totally just deflate it to being about color and finding justice in this life and trying to create a utopia here on earth, that ain't the gospel. And you will be left wanting, right? So to wrap it up here, going back to facts, Trump's doing a lot of good things for religious liberty in our nation, in our schools, for organizations, and for the world, for women in the world, right? If you care about women's rights, he's helping women who are oppressed in Iran and all these other countries, right, because of the Islamic regime. He's helping those things. He's helping free people in that regard. If you're a Christian, you say you're a Christian, and you're buying into this social gospel, and you're so against Trump because he's promoting things that you say are just against what Jesus would do. Jesus wasn't a socialist. He wasn't. Yes, he was radical because he's calling you to be somebody it's not natural, right? It's not natural to love your enemies. It's not natural to esteem others as better than yourself. So, what you have to do is go back to the book. We say it all the time. You want to know who Jesus was? Read about him. Go to the Gospels. And you'll see he did come for the oppressed, those who are oppressed by sin. And those are the people who would be considered the oppressor, right? The elite in society, oppressed by sin, right? The person on the side of the road who has no home, oppressed by sin. That's what Jesus came for, and that's the gospel. So don't want to get that confused with this social gospel of a Jesus who came to fight against capitalism and Western civilization. Yeah, that ain't Jesus, okay? That's something altogether different. And so what I want to challenge you to do, right? We have, eight more days? Eight more Mondays until the election. So start really, really digging in. Look at what President Trump has done for religious liberty. It's so important. I follow different people, right, from around the world. And there are these two, I talked about it on the show before, but there are these two sisters from Iran, and they were imprisoned in Iran for their Christian faith. And even they talked about, in America, the importance of fighting for our religious liberty, because there are so many people around the world who don't have it. This nation is a beacon of hope And that's why people come and they're fleeing to come to this nation, because they don't have that same liberty in other places. And so while we have this freedom and while we have a chance to vote for it, let's do it. All right, so until next time, get behind the why. Comment. We want to have this dialogue. If you disagree, let me know. Let us know. We'll talk back, right? We'll really reason together and hopefully come out to the truth, or, bring facts, bring the truth, and we'll come to the truth. But until next time, as always, peace.